In 1906, two 23-year-old men meet at the Roland Telegraph Company in Baltimore, Maryland. One is a draftsman named Duncan Black. The other is a tool and die maker named Alonzo Decker. Black has a formal education from Baltimore Polytechnic Institute. Decker left school after the 7th grade. One draws. The other builds. They become friends. 4 years later, in 1910, Black sells his car for $600. Decker matches it. Together they rent a warehouse in Baltimore and open a machine shop. The products are whatever anyone will pay for. A milk bottle cap machine, a candy dipping device, a cotton picker. Contract work, built to order, nothing proprietary. The shop has no identity yet. It has 2 men, $1,200, and a rented room. They are not power tool makers. Not yet. In the warehouse, between contract jobs, Black and Decker begin working on something of their own. The electric drill exists at this point, but barely. Fine, the German company, had invented the first electric hand drill in 1895. The tool weighs 16.5 pounds. It requires both hands to hold and a chest plate to press into the work surface. A third person operates the switch. 3 men to drill 1 hole. The device runs on either alternating or direct current, but not both. Every workshop in America runs on a different system. A drill that works in one building is useless in the next. Black and Decker study the problem. They design a universal motor, the first ever built for electric tool use, that runs on either AC or DC power. The drill will work in any workshop, any factory, any building in the country. One tool. Every outlet. But the motor is only half the problem. The other half is the body. The existing drill design requires 2 hands on side handles and a chest plate pressed against the operator's sternum. The operator leans his weight into the machine to drive the bit forward. It is exhausting, awkward, and imprecise. One evening in 1914, Black and Decker are in Decker's kitchen, trying to solve the ergonomics. On the table sits a Colt 45 automatic pistol. Both men look at it at the same time. The pistol grip. The trigger. A device designed to be aimed and fired with one hand, with a single finger controlling the action. That is it. Both men point at the gun and say the same thing. They build a 1/2-inch portable drill with a pistol grip modelled on the Colt and a trigger switch that controls the motor speed. The operator holds the tool with one hand. His index finger controls the power. His other hand is free to steady the workpiece, hold a flashlight, brace against a wall. 2 men have been reduced to 1. 3 operations have been collapsed into a single motion. They begin manufacturing the drill in 1916. In 1917, they receive the patent. That same year, they open a 12,000 square foot factory in Towson, Maryland, just north of Baltimore. The factory will remain the company's headquarters for over a century. By 1920, annual sales exceed $1 million. Black & Decker has offices in 8 American cities and a factory in Canada. The pistol grip drill is not just a product. It is the template for every handheld power tool that will follow. Every drill, every driver, every saw, every grinder built in the next 100 years will use the pistol grip and trigger switch that 2 men borrowed from a gun on a kitchen table. Through the 1920s and 1930s, the company grows steadily. In 1925, Black & Decker establishes a subsidiary in London. The British factory becomes the base for European expansion. In 1928, they acquire Van Dorn Electric Tool Company of Cleveland, adding capacity and product lines. The company goes public in 1927 and achieves a full listing on the New York Stock Exchange in 1936. The logo, a hexagon, has been used since 1912. It represents a hexagonal nut, a universal fastener. Simple, industrial, instantly recognizable. The hexagon will remain in some form for over a century, outlasting every product, every executive, and every strategy the company produces. The product line expands through the 1930s. Portable electric air compressors, bench grinders, valve refacers, sanders, screwdrivers, nut runners, tappers. By 1936, the company is advertising at the British Industries Fair, showcasing its full range of portable electric production tools. Black & Decker is not merely a drill company anymore. It is the dominant manufacturer of industrial portable electric tools in the United States and one of the most recognized industrial brands in the world. Every product uses the pistol grip trigger switch interface that Black & Decker patented in 1917. In the 1930s, the company does something unusual for a power tool manufacturer. It sends its newest tools on tour, loading them into a customized 6-passenger travel air monoplane and flying them to airports near potential customers. A salesman arrives by air, demonstrates the tools on the tarmac, and flies to the next city. It is among the first examples of aerial product demonstration in American industrial sales. Black & Decker is not just building better tools. It is building a brand that feels modern, ambitious, and unavoidable. Then comes World War II. Black & Decker's factories shift to military production, manufacturing fuses, shells, and precision components for the war effort. The company earns the Army Navy E Award for excellence in wartime production. When the war ends in 1945, Black & Decker's founders make the decision that will define the company's next 4 decades. They look at the millions of American soldiers returning home, buying houses, building families, filling suburbs with new construction. These men know how to work with tools. They learned in the military, in factories, on ships. They are building garages, finishing basements, putting up shelves. They need tools, not industrial tools, consumer tools. In 1946, Black & Decker introduces the home utility line, 1/4-inch and 1/2-inch electric drills designed for the consumer market, priced for a household budget, sold through hardware stores and department stores. No power tool company has done this before. Industrial tools are for professionals. The idea that a homeowner would own an electric drill is entirely new. In the first 5 years, Black & Decker sells 1 million 1/4-inch drills. 1 million. The consumer market is not a niche. It is an ocean. Circular saws follow in 1949. A finishing sander and jigsaw in 1953. Lawn and garden tools come next. By the end of the 1950s, Black & Decker is not just a power tool company. It is a household name. The brand sits in garages from Maine to California. Duncan Black dies in 1951 at the age of 67. Alonzo Decker replaces him as president and continues until his own death in 1956. Alonzo Decker Jr. takes the reins. The company remains a family operation through its first half-century. A Black or a Decker holds the presidency, the chairmanship, or both from 1910 until 1978. 68 years of founding family leadership. The brand's credibility during this era is extraordinary. In 1957, Black & Decker introduces the first electric outdoor power tools designed for homeowners. In 1985, the company is named the official power tools and accessories supplier for the restoration of the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island. The tools that drilled the moon are now restoring America's most famous monument. The company occupies a position no other tool brand has ever held, respected by professionals, trusted by consumers, chosen by NASA, and selected for national heritage projects. It is the peak. Everything that follows is a descent. In the late 1950s, Alonzo Decker Jr. has an idea that sounds absurd. He wants to take the cord off the drill. The concept comes from watching workers install storm windows on residential homes. The workers plug their drills into indoor power sockets, running extension cords through windows and down ladders. The process is dangerous, inefficient, and slow. A man standing on a ladder in November, feeding a power cord through a half-open window while trying to hold a storm frame in place with his other hand, is not working efficiently. He is surviving. Decker believes a battery-powered drill could eliminate the cord entirely. In 1961, Black & Decker introduces the world's first cordless electric drill. It runs on nickel-cadmium batteries. The power is modest. The runtime is limited. Professional tradespeople are skeptical. The tool is marketed primarily to homeowners, not to the job site. But the principle is established. An electric tool can run without a wall socket. The cord is no longer mandatory. The implications are larger than anyone at Black & Decker realizes. The timing is extraordinary. Because in the mid-1960s, a government agency with an unusual set of requirements comes looking for exactly this technology. NASA needs tools that work in space. The problem is specific and merciless. In space, there are no power outlets. There are no extension cords. A corded tool is useless. But the challenge goes far beyond power supply. In zero gravity, every action produces an equal and opposite reaction. Newton's third law is absolute. If an astronaut floating outside a spacecraft uses a conventional wrench to tighten a bolt, the wrench turns the bolt in one direction and the astronaut's body spins in the other. The astronaut becomes the rotating object, not the fastener. Without gravity to anchor the operator, every tool becomes a propulsion device aimed at the person holding it. NASA contracts Black & Decker through the Martin Marietta Corporation to build a tool that can turn a bolt in zero gravity without spinning the astronaut. The engineering challenge is extraordinary. The tool must absorb its own reaction torque internally, delivering rotational force to the fastener without transferring that force back through the operator's hands and into his body. It must work in a hard vacuum, in extreme temperatures, in the absence of any atmospheric pressure, without a power cord, without gravity, and without killing or injuring the astronaut who uses it. The result is the zero-impact wrench for the Gemini program. The tool works. It is deployed on Gemini spacewalks for external spacecraft maintenance. Bolts are tightened. The astronaut stays still. Newton's third law is satisfied by internal counter-rotating masses instead of the operator's body. Then NASA asks for something harder. The Apollo program needs a drill that can extract core samples from the surface of the moon. The drill must be cordless, battery-powered, lightweight, and capable of boring into lunar rock and regolith in 1/6 Earth gravity. It must operate in a vacuum. It must function in temperature extremes ranging from 250 degrees Fahrenheit in sunlight to -280 degrees in shadow. The battery must deliver maximum power with minimum weight. Every gram matters because every gram costs fuel, and fuel determines whether 3 men come home alive. Black & Decker's engineers use a computer program, one of the first of its kind, to optimize the motor design for minimum power consumption while maintaining enough torque to penetrate lunar rock. The result is the Apollo Lunar Surface Drill, a cordless rotary percussion hammer drill powered by a battery pack that delivers exactly enough energy to extract core samples up to 3 meters deep from the moon's surface. On July 31, 1971, astronaut David Scott of the Apollo 15 mission stands on the surface of the moon at the Hadley Apennine landing site. He picks up the Black & Decker-built drill. He drives it into the lunar surface. The bit penetrates the regolith. Core samples rise through the hollow bit, preserved in their original geological layers. The samples are sealed, packed, and returned to Earth. The drill is used again on Apollo 16, and again on Apollo 17. 3 missions. 3 sets of lunar core samples. 1 drill, built by a company that started in a rented Baltimore warehouse with a milk bottle cap machine and $1,200. Black & Decker has drilled the moon. The NASA collaboration does not stay on the moon. The computer-optimized motor designs, the miniaturized battery management systems, the lightweight power-to-weight engineering, all of it comes back to Earth. In 1974, Black & Decker introduces the Mod 4, a cordless power tool system with interchangeable attachments, including a small vacuum cleaner called the Spot Vac. The system itself is not commercially successful. But consumer feedback reveals something unexpected. Women are using the Spot Vac for quick household cleaning tasks. They are pulling it off the Mod 4 base and carrying it around the kitchen. Black & Decker's engineers redesigned the device specifically for household use. They make it lighter, more ergonomic, self-contained. In January 1979, Black & Decker launches the DustBuster, a cordless handheld vacuum cleaner, battery-powered, lightweight, designed to clean crumbs off a counter, dust off a shelf, reach under a couch cushion. The DustBuster is a direct descendant of the Apollo Lunar Surface Drill, the same motor optimization techniques, the same battery miniaturization principles, the same engineering philosophy. Maximum performance from minimum power in a cordless handheld device. From the surface of the moon to the kitchen counter. It becomes one of the most successful consumer products of the 20th century. Black & Decker sells millions. The DustBuster enters the permanent collection of the Smithsonian Institution. The company that drilled the moon has now vacuumed America's countertops. But somewhere between the moon and the kitchen counter, something begins to shift. Through the 1970s and 1980s, Black & Decker pushes deeper into consumer products. The Workmate, an adjustable portable workbench designed by a British inventor named Ron Hickman, launches in 1975 and becomes another global hit. Black & Decker sells 30 million Workmates worldwide. Cordless hedge trimmers follow. Cordless shrub cutters. Then Black & Decker makes a move that would have made the founders pause. In 1973, Black & Decker acquires McCulloch Corporation, the most dominant chainsaw manufacturer in American history, for $65 million. Robert McCulloch had built the company from a Los Angeles beanfield into a global empire, producing millions of professional-grade chainsaws. McCulloch's machines had mechanized the American forest. His engineers had filed innovation after innovation, from the first one-man chainsaw to the first electric start chainsaw to the first 6-pound chainsaw. Black & Decker immediately shifts McCulloch's focus towards smaller, cheaper, consumer-grade saws. The logic is consumer division logic, higher volumes, predictable retail margins, mass-market shelf space. The professional loggers and arborists who built McCulloch's reputation notice the shift immediately. They start buying Husqvarna and Stihl instead. McCulloch's engineering pipeline, which had produced a decade of world firsts, goes quiet. By 1984, Black & Decker sells McCulloch to a private investment group. The brand never recovers. By 1999, McCulloch files for bankruptcy. The company that had produced 3 million chainsaws is dismembered and sold for parts. Black & Decker does to McCulloch exactly what it is simultaneously doing to itself, taking a professional-grade brand and dragging it into the consumer aisle until the name stops meaning anything to the people who use tools for a living. Meanwhile, the consumer product portfolio keeps expanding. Small household appliances, toasters, coffee makers, irons, dustbusters in every color. Black & Decker is no longer just a power tool company. It is a household goods company that also happens to make power tools. The consumer division is printing money. The professional division is dying. The problem is the professional division. Black & Decker sells professional-grade power tools under its own name. The tools are competent. The engineering is solid, but the brand has become so thoroughly associated with consumer products, with household drills and dustbusters and kitchen gadgets and toaster ovens, that professional tradespeople refuse to carry them on a job site. The resistance is not about quality, it is about identity. A carpenter does not want to be seen using the same brand as his blender. A contractor does not want to pull a Black & Decker drill out of his truck when every other crew on the site is carrying Makita or Milwaukee. The professional tools are charcoal grey, barely distinguishable from the black consumer models. There is nothing to signal that these are different machines. By the late 1980s, Makita, the Japanese company, has carved out the professional contractor market that Black & Decker abandoned in its rush toward consumer sales. Makita's teal-colored tools are everywhere on American job sites. Milwaukee holds the industrial segment. Black & Decker's professional line sits in between, rejected by both. Joseph Galley, Vice President for Sales and Marketing at Black & Decker US Power Tools, commissions a nationwide study. The results become one of the most cited case studies in EMBA programs across America. The findings are devastating and precise. 70% of professional tradespeople in the United States recognize the name Black & Decker. The brand awareness is extraordinary, but the association is entirely consumer-grade. Homeowner tools. Weekend projects. The drill your wife uses to hang a picture frame. Not the heavy-duty equipment a professional demands. Not the tool a framing carpenter trusts to survive an 8-hour shift in a rain-soaked timber frame. They don't want the same brand as their blender, one distributor tells the company. The phrase becomes industry shorthand for an entire category of brand failure. Another study participant puts it more directly. Contractors want the most macho brand name on the worksite. Black & Decker is the opposite of macho. It is kitchen appliances and weekend projects and dustbusters. Black & Decker's professional tool line is dying. Not because the tools are bad, because the name is toxic on a job site. The company has spent 3 decades building the most recognized power tool brand in the world, and that recognition is now killing its professional division. Michael Hammes, Executive Vice President and President of the Power Tools and Home Improvement Group, proposes a solution borrowed from the automobile industry. He calls it the Acura concept. In 1986, Honda launched Acura as a separate luxury brand because American buyers would not pay premium prices for a car with the Honda badge. The product was excellent. The name was wrong. Honda solved the problem by giving the product a different name. Black & Decker has the same problem. And Black & Decker has a name sitting in a drawer. In 1960, Black & Decker had acquired DeWalt from the American Machine and Foundry Company. DeWalt was a brand founded in 1924 by Raymond E. DeWalt, the inventor of the radial arm saw. The radial arm saw was a workhorse of woodworking shops and high school industrial arts classrooms across America. The name DeWalt carried credibility among tradespeople. It meant durable, professional, heavy-duty. Black & Decker had operated DeWalt as a subsidiary for decades, manufacturing radial arm saws under the DeWalt name. In the mid-1980s, Black & Decker divested the radial arm saw manufacturing branch, selling it to 2 executives. But the company kept the DeWalt trademark. The name sat dormant. The saws stopped rolling off the line. The brand became a ghost. In 1992, Black & Decker resurrects it. The company takes its existing professional tool line, the same tools that had been manufactured in Black & Decker factories, sold by Black & Decker distributors, engineered by Black & Decker engineers, and paints them yellow. Bright, high-visibility yellow. The color of hard hats and safety tape and caution signs on construction sites. The color that says danger, work, professional. They slap the DeWalt name on the yellow housings. They add an expanded warranty and a dedicated service network. They price the tools higher than the Black & Decker equivalents. They launch with 33 products, including drills, circular saws, reciprocating saws, and jigsaws. The tools are manufactured in the same plants as the consumer products. The engineering is substantially the same. The color is different. The name is different. The price is higher. And the tradesperson buying it has no idea he is holding a Black & Decker tool with a yellow case and a different sticker. Joseph Galley calls it the largest initiative in the history of the company. Millions of dollars in marketing. Yellow trucks. Yellow banners. Yellow displays in every professional tool dealer in the country. DeWalt sponsors racing teams, construction events, trade shows. The brand launches with a velocity that suggests a company entering the market for the first time, not a conglomerate slapping a dead man's name on its existing product line. It works. Within 2 years, DeWalt captures significant market share from Makita in the professional contractor segment. By the mid-1990s, DeWalt is one of the fastest-growing power tool brands in the world. Black & Decker has solved its professional credibility crisis by admitting implicitly that the Black & Decker name has been destroyed among the buyers who matter most. The strategy is brilliant. It is also an admission of catastrophic failure. Black & Decker invented the portable electric drill with a pistol grip and trigger switch. Black & Decker built the first consumer power tools. Black & Decker developed the first cordless drill. Black & Decker engineered the tools that went to the moon. Black & Decker created the DustBuster. The company's innovations reshaped how humans interact with tools in every setting, from industrial factories to suburban garages to the surface of another world. And by 1992, the name was so degraded among professional users that the company had to hide it behind a different brand to sell tools to the people who use them for a living. The company that drilled the moon could not sell a drill to a carpenter. In 1994, DeWalt acquires Elu, a German woodworking power tool producer, and uses Elu's technology to expand the tool line. By 2001, DeWalt manufactures over 200 hand power tools and 800 accessories. The brand becomes Black & Decker's engine of growth in the professional market. DeWalt is where the engineering investment goes. DeWalt is where the marketing budget flows. DeWalt is the name that appears on the sponsorships, the racing cars, the construction site banners. Black & Decker, the original brand, the name that invented the modern power tool, is gradually pushed down market. It becomes the budget line, the entry-level offering. The tools sold at Walmart and Target alongside toasters and coffee makers. In 2004, Black & Decker acquires Porter Cable, another storied American power tool brand, and combines it with DeWalt in Jackson, Tennessee. Porter Cable becomes the mid-tier offering. DeWalt stays at the top. Black & Decker sinks to the bottom. The corporate structure now runs 3 tiers of tools through one manufacturing system. DeWalt at the top for professionals, Porter Cable in the middle for serious DIYers. Black & Decker at the bottom for consumers, same parent company. Overlapping factories, differentiated by color, price, and warranty, not by fundamental engineering. On March 12, 2010, Black & Decker ceases to exist as an independent company. The Stanley Works, a Connecticut-based tool and hardware manufacturer founded in 1843, acquires Black & Decker in a $4.5 billion all-stock merger. The combined entity is called Stanley Black & Decker. It becomes the largest tool company in the world. The man who negotiated the deal was Nolan Archibald, who had been Black & Decker's CEO since 1986. Under his leadership, the company had expanded aggressively into household products, acquiring General Electric's small appliances division in 1984, the Emhart Corporation in 1989, and numerous other consumer brands. Each acquisition pushed Black & Decker further from its origins as a professional tool company and deeper into the consumer appliance business. The company that Duncan Black and Alonzo Decker founded in 1910 with $1,200 from a sold car and a matching contribution is absorbed into a conglomerate. The Black & Decker name remains as a consumer brand, positioned at the lowest tier of the corporate portfolio. DeWalt, the brand Black & Decker resurrected from a dormant trademark in 1992, becomes the flagship. The creation has overtaken the creator. In 2017, Stanley Black & Decker acquires the Craftsman brand from Sears for $900 million. Craftsman had been Sears' in-house tool brand since 1927, carrying a lifetime warranty that generations of American homeowners relied upon. Under Stanley Black & Decker, that warranty is quietly restructured. Craftsman slots in alongside Porter Cable in the mid-tier. The portfolio is now 4 deep. DeWalt on top, Craftsman and Porter Cable in the middle, Black & Decker at the bottom. 4 brands, 1 conglomerate, a spectrum from professional to disposable. By 2022, Stanley Black & Decker's stock price drops more than 50% from its peak. The company announces layoffs, factory closures, and a strategic restructuring. The consumer segment that Black & Decker built its name on is now the weakest part of the portfolio. In 2023, Porter Cable is quietly discontinued. One of the 4 tiers disappears. The brand that the Smithsonian honored in 1996 is killed for the 2nd time, this time by the same parent company that already killed it once. In 2014, the company rebrands from Black & Decker to Black + Decker. The ampersand becomes a plus sign. a cosmetic change that signals nothing except the diminishing weight of a name that once meant something on every job site in America. Alonzo G. Decker Jr. had already resigned from the board in 2000 at the age of 92, 2 years before his death. The last Decker left the building a decade before the name left the company. Trace the line from 1910 to today, and the arc is clear. 2 men in a warehouse invent the modern power tool. They build a company that dominates the industrial market for half a century. They pioneer consumer tools and create an entirely new category of buyer. They develop the first cordless drill. They send a wrench to Gemini and a drill to the moon. They bring the technology home and create the DustBuster. They restore the Statue of Liberty. They become the most recognized power tool brand on Earth. Then they dilute the brand so thoroughly with consumer products that professionals refuse to carry it. They acquire McCulloch and destroy it the same way. They solve their professional reputation crisis not by rebuilding the name, but by hiding behind a dead man's trademark on a yellow casing. The yellow brand succeeds. The original brand fails. The company sells itself to a conglomerate. The original name becomes the budget line, positioned below the brand it created to replace itself. The company that drilled the moon now sits on the bottom shelf at Walmart next to flashlights and extension cords. Alonzo Decker looked at a Colt 45 on his kitchen table in 1914 and saw the future of the power tool. Every drill built in the 112 years since carries his design. Every trigger switch, every pistol grip, every cordless drill that a tradesperson picks up on a construction site in 2026, whether it says DeWalt or Milwaukee or Makita or Hilti on the housing, uses the interface that 2 young men borrowed from a handgun in Baltimore. The 50 millionth Black & Decker drill sits in the Smithsonian Institution. The DustBuster sits in the Smithsonian. The Apollo Lunar Surface Drill sits in the permanent collection at the National Air and Space Museum. 3 artifacts, 3 different museums, 3 different eras of American innovation, all bearing the same name. The brand sits at the bottom of a corporate portfolio, below the name of a man who invented the radial arm saw in 1922 and has been dead for decades. Below Craftsman, which was ripped from Sears. Below Porter Cable, which was killed and discontinued. The only brand in the portfolio that is lower than the brand that invented the category is the brand that invented the category. The drill went to the moon and back. The brand went from the moon to the dollar store. And it got there not because a competitor destroyed it, not because a private equity firm gutted it, not because the market shifted beneath it. It got there because the company that built it decided, year after year, that selling more units to more people at lower prices was worth more than the name on the box. It was a calculation. It made money. It worked by every financial measure. Every measure except the one that Duncan Black and Alonzo Decker understood when they looked at that Colt 45 on the kitchen table. The name on the tool is the promise the tool makes. Cheapen the name, and you cheapen the promise. Cheapen the promise enough, and eventually nobody believes it at all. Nobody did that to Black & Decker. Black & Decker did that to itself.